7 years of marriage shattered when I caught Amanda cheating with her coworker. Instead of an apology, she suggested we try an open marriage to save our relationship. With a broken heart, I reluctantly agreed, not realizing this painful decision would lead me to unexpected happiness. As Amanda flaunted her affair openly, I found comfort talking to Jessica, her best friend since college. What started as friendship grew into something more. When Amanda discovered us together, her jealousy exploded beyond reason. Suddenly, the rules she created no longer suited her.
Trước khi tôi kể cho các bạn câu chuyện về cách tình yêu tìm đến tôi từ nơi không ngờ tới, hãy cho tôi biết bạn đang xem từ đâu và nhấn subscribe để không bỏ lỡ những câu chuyện tiếp theo của tôi.
I still remember the first time I met Amanda. It was at a speed dating event in downtown Boston 8 years ago. I was 35, working as a software engineer for a tech startup, and had been single for almost 2 years after a relationship that went nowhere. Amanda walked in wearing a blue dress that matched her eyes, her blonde hair cascading down her shoulders, and I was instantly captivated. When she sat across from me, the 5-minute timer felt like 5 seconds. We clicked immediately, talking about our shared love for hiking and classic rock music. Before the bell rang, I already knew I wanted to see her again. We exchanged numbers, and went on our first real date the following weekend. Amanda was 33, ambitious and charismatic, working as a marketing specialist for a large advertising agency. She had this infectious laugh that made everyone around her smile. Our relationship progressed quickly. Within 6 months, we were inseparable, spending every weekend together, planning trips and talking about our future. A year later, I proposed during a sunset hike on Mount Washington. She cried when I got down on one knee, the orange glow of the setting sun illuminating her face as she said yes. Our wedding was everything we had dreamed of, intimate yet beautiful, with just close family and friends at a small vineyard outside the city. After the honeymoon in Hawaii, where we spent 2 weeks exploring volcanoes, swimming with turtles, and watching sunsets on black sand beaches, we settled into married life. We bought a charming colonial-style house in the suburbs with a backyard big enough for the children we planned to have. Those first 3 years were pure bliss. We established traditions like Friday date nights, summer road trips, and quiet Sunday mornings with coffee and crossword puzzles on our porch swing. Amanda introduced me to her best friend from college, Jessica, shortly after our first anniversary. Jessica had recently gone through a difficult divorce and had moved to Boston for a fresh start. The three of us often hung out together, having dinner parties or watching movies. Jessica was kind, intelligent, and always brought homemade desserts when she visited. I appreciated how she never made me feel like a third wheel when she and Amanda reminisced about their college days. Looking back, I should have noticed the warning signs earlier. Around our 4th year of marriage, Amanda started working late more often. She became protective of her phone, often taking calls in another room. Our conversations grew shorter, our intimate moments fewer. When I tried to talk to her about the distance I was feeling, she blamed work stress or said I was being paranoid. I did everything I could think of to reignite our connection. I planned surprise date nights, booked weekend getaways, even suggested marriage counseling, which she quickly dismissed as unnecessary. I bought her favorite flowers, remembered every anniversary, and tried to be the husband I thought she wanted. For our 7th anniversary, I made reservations at the upscale restaurant where we had our first date. I left work early to get home and get ready, but by 7:30, Amanda still had not arrived. My calls went straight to voicemail. Worried something had happened, I drove to her office. The main building was mostly dark, but I noticed a light in her department floor. Using the visitor pass she had given me years ago, I took the elevator up. The floor was quiet and empty, except for muffled sounds coming from the conference room at the end of the hall. Through the small window in the door, I saw Amanda sitting on the table, her arms wrapped around James, her project manager. My world collapsed in that moment. I stood there frozen, watching my wife passionately kiss another man. When I finally pushed the door open, Amanda looked up with shock, not remorse. James grabbed his jacket and mumbled something about leaving them to talk, brushing past me as if I were nothing more than an inconvenience. What hurt the most was not finding them together, but what Amanda said next. "We have become boring, Drew. Our marriage stopped being exciting years ago. No apology, no shame. Just a cold assessment that our 7 years together had become a burden to her." I left without saying another word, checked into a hotel, and spent the night staring at the ceiling, replaying our years together and wondering how I had failed so completely. Sleep evaded me for days as I tried to make sense of what had happened to the woman who had once promised to love me forever. 3 days after I discovered the affair, Amanda showed up at my hotel room. She looked perfectly put together in her designer clothes, not at all like someone whose marriage was falling apart. She asked if we could talk, and despite the anger and hurt, I let her in. "I do not want a divorce," she said, sitting on the edge of the bed while I stood by the window, keeping my distance. "I think we can save our marriage if we try something different." Her solution shocked me even more than the affair itself. Amanda proposed we transition to an open marriage, where we could both see other people while remaining committed to each other. She explained it as if she were pitching a business proposal, outlining how many couples found new excitement this way, and how it could strengthen our bond in the long run. "You can date too," she said, as if offering me a consolation prize. "We will just be honest about it." I laughed bitterly. "Is this your way of legitimizing your affair with James?" She did not deny it. "I care about you, Drew. But I am not willing to give up what I have with James. This way we can stay together and both be happy." I wanted to refuse immediately to tell her it was over, but the thought of ending our marriage terrified me. Despite everything, I still loved her. The idea of starting over alone at 35 seemed impossible. After days of arguing and painful conversations, I reluctantly agreed to her proposal, hoping that maybe this phase with James would pass, and we could eventually rebuild what we once had. What followed were the most humiliating 3 months of my life. Our open marriage was nothing but a one-way arrangement. Amanda continued seeing James openly, coming home late, smelling of his cologne, texting him constantly even when we were together. She would casually mention their dates, describing restaurants they visited or shows they attended, completely oblivious to how each word stabbed at my heart. Meanwhile, I could not bring myself to date anyone else. The thought of being intimate with another woman while still legally married to Amanda felt wrong despite her infidelity. I became a shell of myself, losing 20 pounds as my appetite disappeared along with my self-esteem. I went through the motions at work, but my performance suffered. I withdrew from friends, too embarrassed to explain what our marriage had become. My colleague Michael noticed the change in me. During lunch one day, he cornered me in the break room. "You look like hell, Drew. What is going on?" I found myself confiding in him, revealing the sordid details of my so-called open marriage. Michael did not mince words. "That is not an open marriage, that is emotional abuse. She is manipulating you to avoid the consequences of cheating. You need to get out before she destroys you completely." His bluntness was exactly what I needed. For the first time, I began to see my situation clearly, but I still did not have the strength to end things. Then, fate intervened. I ran into Jessica at a coffee shop downtown one Saturday morning. I had been avoiding Amanda's friends, assuming they all knew about our arrangement and pitied me. But when Jessica spotted me, her genuine smile and warm hug caught me off guard. "Drew, it has been ages. How are you?" she asked, joining me at my table without waiting for an invitation. I must have looked worse than I thought because her smile quickly faded. "Actually, you do not look great. Is everything okay?" Something about her sincere concern broke through my facade. Before I knew it, I was telling her everything, the words pouring out like a dam had burst. Jessica listened, without interrupting her expression, shifting from surprise to anger. "Amanda told everyone, you two agreed to see other people because you both wanted more freedom," she said when I finished. She made it sound like it was mutual. "Even your idea." I had no idea she cheated first. Jessica then revealed something that shook me even further. This was not Amanda's first affair. There had been others during college, and even one during our engagement that Jessica had confronted her about. Amanda had sworn it was over and begged Jessica not to tell me. "I should have told you then," Jessica said, regret clear in her voice. "I convinced myself it was a one-time mistake and that she truly loved you. I am so sorry, Drew." After that day, Jessica and I began meeting regularly just as friends. She had been through her own divorce after discovering her ex-husband's infidelity, so she understood my pain in a way few others could. We would meet for coffee or take walks in the park, talking for hours about our experiences, our fears, and eventually our hopes for the future. Jessica encouraged me to start rebuilding my life regardless of what happened with Amanda. She pushed me to join a gym, reconnect with friends, and even recommended her therapist who specialized in betrayal trauma. With her support, I began attending a support group for people going through difficult divorces, although I had not yet made that decision. Slowly, I started to reclaim parts of myself that had been lost in the chaos of my failing marriage. I rediscovered my passion for photography, started playing basketball with colleagues after work, and even began exploring hiking trails I had once loved but abandoned when Amanda lost interest. For the first time in months, I remembered what it felt like to smile genuinely, to laugh without forcing it, to look forward to tomorrow. 2 months of healing transformed not just my outlook on life, but also how I saw Jessica. What began as friendly support evolved into something deeper. I caught myself thinking about her between our meetings, looking forward to her texts, valuing her perspective on everything. Jessica's kindness, wisdom, and gentle humor were becoming the brightest parts of my weeks. I fought these feelings fiercely. Dating my wife's best friend, even in our so-called open marriage, felt like crossing a line. But the more time we spent together, the harder it became to deny the connection forming between us. Jessica struggled too. One evening, as we walked through Boston Common, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks, she confessed her conflicted feelings. "I care about you, Drew, more than I should," she said, stopping to face me. "I feel guilty every time I look forward to seeing you, like I am betraying a friendship. But I cannot help thinking that maybe this happened for a reason, that maybe we were meant to find each other through all this pain." Her honesty broke down my final reservations. That night I asked her to dinner, not as friends seeking comfort, but as two people acknowledging the possibility of something more. We went to a small Italian restaurant tucked away in the North End, where the soft lighting and intimate atmosphere allowed us to see each other differently for the first time. Across the table, watching Jessica talk passionately about her work as a pediatric physical therapist, I realized I was seeing someone clearly for the first time in years. There was no manipulation, no hidden agenda, just authentic conversation and genuine interest. When she reached across the table and took my hand, the simple gesture felt more intimate than anything I had shared with Amanda in years. "What about Amanda?" Jessica asked as we lingered over dessert. "Are you going to tell her about us?" The question had been weighing on my mind. According to the rules of our open marriage, I was free to date others, but I knew Amanda never expected I actually would, especially not someone so close to her. She wanted an open marriage, I said, trying to convince myself as much as Jessica. "This is what that means." Jessica squeezed my hand. "Just be prepared. I know Amanda. She wants freedom for herself, not for you." How prophetic those words would prove to be. For 3 weeks, Jessica and I continued seeing each other discreetly. We went to restaurants in neighboring towns, watched movies at independent theaters, where we were unlikely to run into anyone we knew, and spent long evenings talking at her apartment. For the first time in months, I felt happy, valued, and alive. Then came the night that changed everything. Jessica and I were at a movie theater across town, thinking we were safe from prying eyes. The film had just ended, and in the darkened theater I leaned over and kissed her. The moment was perfect until I heard a familiar voice call my name with icy fury. Amanda stood at the end of our row, her face contorted with rage. James, her affair partner, stood awkwardly behind her, looking like he wanted to be anywhere else. "Are you kidding me?" Amanda hissed loud enough for nearby patrons to turn and stare. "My best friend. Of all the people you could have chosen, you picked Jessica." I stood instinctively, positioning myself between Amanda and Jessica. "We should talk about this somewhere else." "There is nothing to talk about," Amanda spat. "You are a traitor," she said to Jessica, "and you turning to me are pathetic." She stormed out, James trailing behind, leaving us in stunned silence among curious onlookers. I expected to feel guilt or shame, but instead I felt relief. The confrontation I had been dreading was finally happening. That night, when I returned to what was still legally our home, Amanda was waiting. What followed was the most brutal argument of our marriage. She accused me of deliberately trying to hurt her by choosing Jessica, of plotting revenge, of betraying her trust. The irony of her accusations was not lost on me. "You wanted an open marriage," I finally said, finding my voice and my courage. "You do not get to decide who I see. But my best friend, there are boundaries, Drew, boundaries." I laughed, years of suppressed anger, finally surfacing. "Like the boundary of marriage vows, the ones you broke first. You do not get to make rules for me anymore, Amanda. You lost that right when you decided our marriage was not enough for you." Amanda's tactics shifted then from rage to manipulation. She cried, claiming she had been planning to end things with James, that she realized she still loved me, that we could fix our marriage if only I would end things with Jessica. It was the same pattern I had endured for months, Amanda controlling the narrative, changing the rules to suit herself, never accepting responsibility for the pain she caused. In that moment, looking at the tears I once would have done anything to stop, I felt nothing but clarity. This woman was not the person I had fallen in love with, or perhaps she was, and I had been too blind to see her true nature. "I am filing for divorce," I said quietly. The calm declaration had more impact than hours of shouting. Amanda's tears stopped immediately, replaced by cold calculation. "You will regret this. I will make sure of it." She was true to her word. The following weeks became a campaign to turn our friends against me. She spread rumors that I had been cheating with Jessica throughout our marriage, that our open arrangement had been my idea to legitimize my affair. She showed up at Jessica's workplace, creating a scene that nearly got Jessica in trouble with her supervisor. She bombarded me with texts alternating between vicious accusations and pleas to reconcile. The final breaking point came when Jessica invited me to dinner with her parents who were visiting from Chicago. Amanda somehow found out and showed up at the restaurant clearly intoxicated, and began loudly recounting intimate details of our marriage to the stunned table. As I watched Jessica's parents' shocked expressions, something snapped inside me. I took Amanda gently but firmly by the arm and led her outside. In the parking lot away from curious eyes, I finally said what should have been said months ago. "This ends now," I told her, my voice steady. "You can spread whatever lies you want. You can make this divorce as difficult as possible, but you cannot control me anymore. I am done being your backup plan, your safety net, your punching bag. Let me go, Amanda. For both our sakes." I walked back inside, apologized to Jessica's parents, and for the first time introduced myself not as Amanda's husband, but simply as Drew, a man ready to begin a new chapter. That night I moved my remaining belongings out of our house and into a small apartment across town. It felt like removing the final chains of a prison I had been living in for too long. As I placed my few possessions in my new space, I realized I was not just changing addresses, I was reclaiming my life. 6 months passed since I moved out, and life transformed in ways I never anticipated. Jessica and I found a comfortable routine, taking our relationship one day at a time, both cautious after our past wounds. We rented an apartment together near the Charles River, a bright space with large windows that let in the morning sun, symbolizing the new beginnings we both needed. The divorce process was as painful as expected. Amanda fought for more than her fair share of our assets, dragging out proceedings with unreasonable demands and delays. Her final attempt to hurt me came when her lawyer presented evidence of my affair with Jessica, conveniently omitting that it began after our agreement to open the marriage, an agreement initiated by Amanda's own infidelity. During the legal proceedings, more truths emerged. Amanda had not just cheated with James. There had been others throughout our marriage, including a long-term affair with a client that started just 2 years after our wedding. Each revelation should have hurt, but instead provided the closure I needed. Any lingering guilt about my relationship with Jessica disappeared as I realized our marriage had been built on lies from nearly the beginning. Through it all, I found strength in unexpected places. My parents, initially shocked by the divorce, became my steadfast supporters. Colleagues who had witnessed my depression during those dark months rallied around me. Even some mutual friends, after hearing both sides, reached out to offer support and maintain our friendship separate from Amanda. A year after filing for divorce, the papers were finally signed. I expected to feel grief, but instead experienced profound relief. That evening, Jessica and I celebrated not the end of my marriage, but the beginning of my freedom. We opened a bottle of champagne on our balcony overlooking the river, and as the sun set on that chapter of my life, I felt genuine peace for the first time in years. My career flourished as my mental health improved. The promotion I had been passed over for twice while struggling through my failing marriage finally came through. I reconnected with old hobbies, made new friends, and even started mentoring a young engineer at work, channeling my experiences into helping others navigate their own challenges. Jessica taught me what healthy love looks like. She showed me that real partnership means respecting boundaries, communicating openly, and supporting each other's growth. Our relationship was not perfect. We had disagreements and learning curves, but the foundation was solid, built on mutual respect and genuine care rather than control and manipulation. We still occasionally ran into Amanda at social events or mutual friends' gatherings. The first few encounters were tense, but with time I learned to be civil without engaging beyond basic courtesy. Amanda eventually started dating someone new and moved to another part of the city. Watching her from a distance, I realized she would likely repeat the same patterns, and I felt a strange mixture of sadness for her and gratitude for my escape. The most valuable lesson from this painful chapter was learning to value myself enough to walk away from toxicity. For too long, I had accepted mistreatment out of fear of being alone, mistaking comfort for happiness. I learned that true love does not diminish you. It elevates you to become your best self. Jessica and I are now planning our engagement. We are taking our time building a solid foundation before making that commitment. When I look at her, I see not just a partner, but a friend who stood by me during my darkest hours and helped me find my way back to myself. The irony is not lost on me that Amanda's betrayal led me to the most honest relationship I have ever known. Pain is often the greatest teacher. My journey through heartbreak led to healing through betrayal, to trust through loss to rediscovery. Sometimes we must lose what we thought we wanted to find what we truly need. The end of my marriage was not a failure, but a necessary conclusion that opened the door to authentic happiness. I sometimes wonder if I should thank Amanda for proposing that open marriage. Her attempt to have everything on her terms ultimately freed me from a relationship that was diminishing my spirit day by day. Sometimes the worst things that happen to us lead us to the best places we never knew existed. Life continues to surprise me with its twists and turns. The path I thought would bring happiness led to pain, while the painful road I feared led to unexpected joy. Perhaps that is the greatest lesson of all. Our deepest wounds can become doorways to our most profound healing. Have you ever experienced a blessing disguised as heartbreak? Something that seemed like the worst moment of your life, but ultimately led you to where you needed to be? Share your story in the comments below. And if my journey resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life stories about finding strength in difficult times. Thank you for listening. And remember, sometimes when one door closes, it is not just another that opens, but the right one.